Our next guest is a universally acclaimed opera tenor whose vocal range and power have brought audience around the globe to their feet.
Here to talk about his lead role in I Puritani at the Met Opera, his new album Virtuoso Rossini Arias, and his career as one of the most celebrated tenors in the world as opera superstar. Got all the Italian right. I can't say superstar. Superstar.
You said it so beautifully, though.
Superstar Lawrence Brownlee. Welcome to Arise 360.
Thank you for having me here. That Italian was fine. It was perfect. Yes, it was really good.
Thank you so much.
Are you Italian?
I wish. So talk to us about your new role. My goodness.
It's
exciting.
It's the Met, and I get a chance to make my debut there in 2007. So this is the first role of Bellini that I'm doing there. Many of the things I've sung before, obviously I just have the CD of Rossini Arias that came out. I sang a lot of Rossini. But for me, this was another challenge to step up to the plate and do a different composer. So it's very challenging, very demanding, but I'm having a great time. And thankfully, thanks be to God that we've had some really good reviews and people have really responded to it in a positive way.
The reviews have been fantastic, so congratulations.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit more about the storyline of this opera and how do you prepare to sing something like this night after night?
Well, thankfully we have a couple days in between performances because as many people understand, opera only has orchestra and no microphones. So we have to project our voices and that can be very taxing. So you always try to prepare yourself in a way, the days leading up to the opera, to relax, to make sure that you can be as healthy as possible because it's demanding. This is a classic story of a man who has to decide between duty and honor or love. And so in the story, the character, his name is Arturo, he leaves with someone that at that time they don't know is the queen. He leaves because it's the queen of his homeland, and he leaves the woman from a different land that he's in love with, but the duty calls him to rescue and lead the queen to safety. So that's pretty much the basis of the story. He returns and tells his love, Elvira, who eventually goes mad, that he had to follow his duty. Instead of love. But they end up together at the end. So.
Let's talk about the famously high F. How do you hit that note?
Well, Lord have mercy. It's one of those things that few try it. It's very difficult. It's very high. And from the first time I did it, I think the first time was 2006. So that's about 8 years ago. My voice is a bit different. Now, with a bit more maturity, your voice changes. And so some of those notes that are hard to reach aren't as easy anymore. But it was written in the score. The original character who sang it when the composer composed it sang that note. Many people choose an optional note that's a little bit lower to make it easy. And
but you go for the gusto.
I try.
Yeah.
And I think that's the beauty of live theater. People come to the theater, of course, the Metropolitan Opera, which is considered the most important opera house in the world, to hear something that maybe they don't hear on a normal basis every night.
Well, for those that haven't heard it, we need to give them a teaser of what it's like.
This is no Met, but it is a ride.
I actually have a show tomorrow night, so I'm trying to pace myself to make sure I'm ready for the show now. It's very high, and it comes at the end of the opera, which is also difficult. So after an entire night of singing very difficult, beautiful music, you have to sing this note. So I try. It's a part of the magic of live theater, so I always attempt it.
What about apart from another scene that's not as high? Can you give us a taste? Because some people may not be familiar with what opera sounds like.
Oh my gosh, wow, to sing something, I don't know. I hadn't
you on the spot.
Exactly.
You can sing Mary Had a Little Lamb if you like, but in opera.
I guess I can give him a little piece, but this is disclaimer, okay? This is going to be very bad.
No warm-up, okay.
No warm-up at all. Wow. The typical opera singer, una furtiva lagrima negli occhi suoi spunto.
Wow, it was so easy. You'd be like, it just looks so easy.
That's really bad.
That's beautiful, though. Thank you for that.
Not even,
How do you take care of your instrument? I know that some people have vocal rest, some people avoid certain foods, certain drinks. What is your process? What are your rituals?
Well, I've always been this type of guy that I feel like I'm a normal guy. And I'm an opera singer, but it's not necessarily who I am completely. It's what I do. So I always try to live my life in a normal way. I wake up, every day, and I don't go through any rituals like foods I avoid. If there's something, maybe not spicy food, because many singers deal with reflux and other issues, and so I try to avoid just a few things. But I just live a normal life.
Really?
I think it was Pavarotti, who's one of the people I admired growing up. He said that he had 2 perfect singing days in his whole life, and neither of those days he had shows. So I feel like if you wake up on a normal day and you just treat it like it's your job, I have a very lunchbox mentality when I go to the opera. I go, I feel like I'm prepared, and I try to do my best, and I don't do anything out of the ordinary. And afterwards, the world is still the same as, when I went in on stage.
Well, when did you know you could be an opera singer, and when was your first exposure to the opera? Because you don't see many African-American men in the opera.
You don't. And it was somebody who told me as a child, I guess in high school, that they felt I had the voice that was suitable for opera. Now, I grew up in the church. I grew up in a church called the Church of God in Christ, and that was all gospel and all the contemporary artists. But in high school, I was exposed to musical theater and some classical things, and so my background in music is varied. In high school, as a senior, someone told me that you have a voice that's specific. I would audition for solos, and they said, you should look at opera. And so I thought I was going to be a lawyer.
No.
Wow.
No
But,
way.
my
You're
path.
guilty. My client is not guilty.
There you go. That's great. I'm being shown up here.
So how did you ultimately make the leap from law to the opera stage?
Well, I was doing things, and I was always taking music classes, and there was a competition that I went to specifically. And there was a woman who sat me down, and I can't remember her name, an African-American woman who sat me down with my teacher and said, this guy has something special, and you need to be a good steward of that. And so I decided that if it doesn't go well, I could always try to go back to law school. So my family, they were like, what are you going to do? A lot of my fraternity brothers and all those guys, they're like, you're going to be an opera singer? I said, I'm going to try it. And so I had some good opportunities. Some doors opened for me, and then I guess the rest is history.
Wow.
Great.
And now you have a new CD out. Tell us about it.
It's a CD of arias by the composer Rossini, which is the bulk of what I do. So these are some of the more rare arias. Some of his other works are more famous, the Barber of Seville. Everybody thinks Bugs Bunny is the Barber of Seville.
Yeah.
But these are a few of the rare things that we just put together to kind of give them a little bit more exposure.
And you don't just sing opera, which is great also. You have range, you have options.
I came out of the church, and so, I have this spiritual CD as well that we just released. And so that's a part of who I am. Again, my background is varied, and so I like to say I'm not just put in one box, and I can do many things. So I really enjoy everything that I get a chance to do.
All right, well, we'll look forward to you doing many more songs for us. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me here. Thank you.
Thank you, and good luck with everything.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
All right.
you.
And you're watching Arise Entertainment 360.